Hello everyone, my name is Darius and welcome to my Thaemine Gate 1 thoughts video. This isn't a tutorial slash guide, but more like an explanation of what I'm doing and thinking as I play through the gate. Feel free to follow along as I use my note page linked in the description below, as I'll be loosely referring to that as I go through the VOD. With that being said, let's get started. In the opening here, I like to go up and bash the boss and wait for it to initialize the pattern before I actually taunt and cancel the pattern. Then I send my full burst. And right here you can see she does a swipe with a red indicator on the ground. The initial swipe gives you 1 stack, and if you sit in the bubble, that will give you even more stacks. If you tank this enough and you accrue 10 stacks, you'll get heavy bleeding, which causes a really bad pattern that you want to avoid at all costs. After 3 swipes, she'll do a counter, which you should always pay attention to. She can always interrupt the swipes with a pattern. As you can see here, she stands up. It's good to keep track of how many swipes she does, because she will, after 3 swipes, she will always do a counter. As you can see, there's a second swipe right there at the bottom. There's a third swipe, and right here after the third swipe, she can do a counter. Right there. Something to note as well is that every time she's on the wall, she'll do this backdash where she creates a blue orb and dash towards the center of the map. Anytime she's like very close to the wall, it's very likely that she'll do this. Here's an example of leg slam, where she raises her leg, as you can see right there. This initial slam is what you want to counter Gunlance. You cannot counter Gunlance the red indicator that spawns afterwards, otherwise you will miss the front. She does 2 or 3 of these. Here she does 3. You can also counter Gunlance the very last red. That will also guarantee front attack. There again, you can see the backdash. That counter's a bit hard to hit, the one with the blue indicators, but if you dash for fire from just outside, you should be able to hit that one. This one as well. There's a leg slam. So right here, I would stack your combat readiness, your wedge hammer. And as soon as she's hittable, I always bash. I usually dark bomb. In 2C situation, it doesn't really matter where the boss phases, but I would generally keep it down where she's continuously facing. Here I let it turn because I'm waiting for it to initialize the pattern and then taunt to cancel. You see up there, and I go send everything. And here's that swipes again. You can see 1 swipe. She stops and interrupts herself by doing target. Target is a very good pattern if your party knows how to control the aggro very well. You can also steal the aggro from the person who has a target by standing in between the boss and the targeted player. And as long as the person with the target stands still, it's very free. There's a second swipe right there. Here's a third one. On the 4th, she should counter. There you go. As you can see, I was sitting in the little bleed bubbles you see, and I have 6 stacks. You really want to avoid that. There's a leg slam. This one's also very common. Also, if you notice, you can see me using Gunlance shot just out of the blue randomly. That's because if I don't know what the boss is doing, I'll send out Gunlance shot because it's a very low risk, high reward skill. As in, you can just send it and it has a very low cast time, so you can get off very quick, and if the boss turns, you don't lose much compared to Surge Cannon or Charge Slinger. Something also to note is you can see me using my spacebar to cancel skills such as Surge Cannon. We're not cancelling it, but rather cancelling the recoil from the very last tick in order to cycle to my next skill faster. Here's that 4 swipes again, and as well as target. So As soon as he's target, I always go to the target player. These eyes right here is what happens when you stand in between the target and the targeted player, which gives you the aggro. There's a second swipe. As if you have aggro, you should always like keep it the boss facing the same direction, which makes it very, very easy for entry players to make use of the opportunity. During here, it's a little hard to read. Generally, you want to find the targeted player, which will always be in this situation. The boss will always dash to that person, and then backstep away from the targeted player. Right here, you can always run in front. You can hit Gunlancer shot, dash rip fire, or firebolt. Those will all go off in time. And here, as he's dashing, I would always taunt. I don't do it here, which is not very bad. Taunt, bash to counter, and then send your full rotation. And as soon as you get out of this mech, same thing as like the opening right after 144. I always wait for the boss to initialize a pattern, taunt, and then send my full rotation, which gives everyone like a bigger, slightly bigger DPS window. Here goes the leg slam. I always try to counterbalance the first slam or the last red indicator. Here's a targeted. I'm trying to stand in between the boss and the targeted player in order to steal aggro. But I know that because it's targeted, the boss is standing still, and I have a very lot of time to hit the boss without returning. And there's the four swipes again. I always try to stand in front to keep the indicators consistent. And there's the fourth counter. There's a ending red slam indicator. Also, if you miss that counter, she'll run to the edge, and it's very likely that she'll do the backdash from the wall. As you can see right there. This is a good opportunity to get a charge singer into gap close. At the start of basement phase, I always like to wait for her to do a pattern, taunt, bash, send my full rotation, similar to like after 100 Mac, after 144. We'll look at a more reasonable gate in a pug lobby to get a better idea of like what a real raid scenario would look like rather than just a 2C. Like I mentioned before, I always walk in, bash, wait for it to do a pattern, and taunt immediately. This is where I would use an Atro too as well. If anyone grabs it, does give you a small window, but she can turn immediately. You can see I have the eyes now, so I have the target. There's one swipe, I always keep it still. There's a second one. There's a third one, and after this you should counter. That's also a good opportunity window to DPS if you have the target aggro. Same thing, always after mechanic, taunt it after a certain pattern. For this, whenever you see the mark from after the counter, always go to the person, stand in between the person that has the counter target, and the boss, because she would turn to that person. You can counter against the lines, because these pop immediately, or you can wait like 2 seconds later for the circles on the ground to explode. And here I'm waiting for the boss to do something because I know I can taunt it. This right here, if you tank those 2 red circles, she'll backdash and then spawn in lines from the ground. These little puddles here, these will grab you, throw you up in the air, and then slam you down. What you can do is you can dodge the puddle itself, wait for it to do the spike, like that, spacebar in, and counter Gunlance when these spikes come down. Here's the target again, so I know that I can send everything without worrying about missing. The back grab is also a really good opportunity. And just like always, I always bash, wait for a pattern, and then taunt. She's not DR during the stagger, so you should always send everything here, if you have it. These rings you can also counter Gunlance for extra damage. So right here I walk in, Gunlance shot, run. I'll always look for the person who she's targeted on. Taunt, bash, send everything. As soon as I see the little flick from the boss, I taunt immediately to apply synergy, then I bash to counter. That way I don't waste any time applying synergy for when she's down. Now I notice that the boss is almost staggered, so I'm trying to hold my skills. You can always hold your charge thing and follow up with that. And that's the entirety of Gate 1. I'm planning to do this more on for every other gate, like Thaemine, Echidna, and Aegir. I know this one was like a little less informative because Gate 1 is a very simple gate and it's relatively annoying. I feel like once you have like the general like 4-5 patterns locked down, there's not much you can do unless your teammates are really good at accurate control. Well, hopefully you enjoyed. I'm going to try to get out Thaemine Gate 2, 3, 4 as soon as possible. I know Gate 3 and 4 are going to be a lot more informative and a lot longer. I try to keep these videos short so it doesn't take too much of your time. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I do stream on Twitch every day at 5 a.m. My document is always available for anyone to view. I try to keep it updated every day. And thanks for watching. Have a good one.